Hi, everybody, and welcome to the introductory module for the four-part workshop on the foundational training into becoming the parent that you know you can be. So I was called to make this module halfway through creating the other content. Just big, strong calling to just spread some awareness. So this module, we're going to cover why you are being called to shift into conscious parenting. So I'm just going to quickly start by covering off a little bit about the past outdated ways of parenting and the sort of focuses that were prevalent back then. And then we're going to talk about why the shift is happening and what the shift is actually now focusing on, this new way, conscious parenting. What is conscious parenting? So we're going to talk about, the big differences there. So to start off with, in the past, in the past, the focus was a lot on creating or raising kids who would be able to go out into the workforce and fit in, who would be employable to the employers, and who would do as they're told, who would get the good grades, to get the good job and be successful through achieving a good career, and having the house and all of those things. And in order to do that, there was a very strong belief that kids needed to conform. It was a very conservative sort of lifestyle for quite a while there. And kids needed to fit in and conform so that they could be accepted and successful. And so there was that whole perspective of tough love works. And so I'm just checking my notes here. So the whole the tough love, we've got to put our kids in their place by showing them who's boss. I'm the parent, I'm the adult, I'm the one who makes the rules here. You just do as you're told. You're a small person, so you don't get a say. Now, that was very much the mentality for a lot of, maybe not us growing up, maybe it started to shift a little bit, but a lot, especially for our parents, they would have experienced a lot of that. And then our parents have probably done some of their own work in shifting out of that a little bit, not as tough, not as like martial law kind of parenting. So in order to raise successful kids, we needed to teach our kids to be respectful, to be obedient. And in order to do that, they needed to learn what was acceptable and what wasn't. And they were only allowed to show what was acceptable, polite behavior, and they weren't allowed to actually be themselves. They would get punished for expressing themselves or displaying these behaviors. They would get punished for having feelings. And so we needed to create tough children, resilient children who would make it in the world. And then we expected them to go off to school. And when they went off to school, they had to fit in. Now, schools have uniforms. Everyone has to wear the same sort of shoes, the same socks. They need to have certain haircuts. They're not allowed to wear nail polish. They're not allowed to have colored hair. They're not allowed to have any self-expression at all. They are all to fit in and become the sheep. So from the age of like 5 or 6, we're telling our kids that they need to fit in and become the sheep. Now, on top of parenting changing, school is changing. The way we school our kids is changing. It's happening. And yeah, it's going to be changing. In the coming years, we're going to see major shifts in the way that we school our kids. But that's a whole nother one. And if you are interested in that, I did make a video on why I've chosen to homeschool, which is uploaded in the group as well. If you would like a link to that video, comment homeschool and I will get that to you as well. So we'd send them off and teach them that they needed to fit in. So they needed to conform, they needed to get the good grades, they needed to make friends, be accepted, and they needed to be accepted by being like everybody else. And then this is how that they would exit school and go into the workforce, get a good job and make something of themselves and create a family. So with this approach, it was all very much focused on do as I say, do as society says, follow the leader. And there wasn't much room or much of a focus on emotional well-being at all, or room for autonomy is the word. Sorry, I had a mind blank there. Autonomy, autonomous decision-making, autonomous thought process even. It was, when we put lots and lots and lots of rules in place and the kids have to follow the rules, and if they don't follow the rules and they get in trouble, well, then they create fear of getting in trouble. And so they want to follow the rules. And so they just do as they're told. And when kids are consistently doing as they're told to avoid fear, the fear that they experience from getting in trouble, well, then they forget to think they don't learn how to think for themselves. They just want to be told what to do. And then that's why as adults, a lot of us struggle to make decisions because we weren't allowed to make decisions. We were just told what to do. And if we did something wrong, then we were punished. So there's that problem that has arisen from the outdated way of parenting, the tough love, the rule follow, the implementation of lots of rules and punishment for not following them. And then the emotional well-being side of things. So back then, there wasn't much space for expression of emotions. And especially for males, the whole men don't cry or boys don't cry. You got to toughen up. You got to toughen up. You got to build resilience for this tough world out there, and this whole idea that the world is a nasty place, the world is a scary place, everyone is mean, people are mean, you're going to be met with these horrible circumstances as an adult. Adulting is hard, and therefore you need to learn to toughen up as a child. And then therefore there isn't anything healthy about that mentality. There's nothing emotionally healthy about that. And when kids would get upset when we implemented the rules, implemented boundaries, and they tried to express themselves and stand in their own ground and what they thought they were entitled to, or what they wanted to do, or what was in their heart, but then they were punished for it, well, then they learned that their opinion doesn't matter, that they don't matter, that their feelings don't matter. And then they learn that when they express themselves, they get punished. And so they stop expressing themselves. And therefore, we have all these emotionally immature adults today. All of these people who can't show up in intimate relationships emotionally for their partners because they just don't know how. And all these people who emotionally still act like 10-year-olds. So these outdated ways were very restricting and constricting to the emotional growth of children, as well as the autonomy of children, developing a sense of self with a capital S, as in I am, and what is true for you in your heart. It severed completely, in a lot of cases, kids or people's connection with the truth of who they are, as in their connection with source energy, as in they were completely shut off to their intuition. I mean, they're never shut off to source energy, but they were just not aware. You're not aware of it, not in tune, severing that connection with yourself. And kids became somebody that they thought everybody else around them wanted them to be. And then when these kids reach adulthood, if you're like me, and I know many people, we reach a certain point, we're like, well, who the fuck am I? Who am I? Like, seriously, who am I? And we sort of start to have to unbecome all of the layers and all of the masks and all of the ego stories and narratives and everything that we've created to protect ourselves and to fit in. We have to peel all that back. And that's often years and years and years of sifting, sorting, peeling through all the distortions, the narratives, the beliefs, the habits, to actually find out who we are, our connection in here, and to sort of learn how to put boundaries in place. You know, when we were shut down for expressing our feelings, if we were told off for doing something and we wanted to say, but hey, the reason I did this is because I was feeling, or because this happened, or whatever. And then our parents were like, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Go to your room. Then we're like, oh, I can't even say how I feel. I can't put my boundary in place. I can't tell my mum that I don't like the way that she talks to me. Then we struggle to even put boundaries in place, and we let people take advantage of us, and we're constantly giving so much of ourselves and becoming people pleasers because we felt so unloved, even though our parents showed us loved, and we know we're loved, but the attacks or the hostile ways of parenting and putting in the punishments sort of shows otherwise, and we start to feel that we are unloved. So then we start to people please. We sort of look for ways to feel validated and loved and appreciated. So we go out of our way to people please because our emotional well-being was not considered when we were growing up. Now, why are we being called to shift away from this? Well, I don't know a whole lot about astrology, but I know it's got something to do with astrology. We all know, well, many of you would be aware of the term the Great Awakening, or the fact that lots of people are waking up now. Waking up, what does that mean? I don't know. What it means to me is becoming aware of the outdated ways, the foundations that have been built for centuries and centuries and millennia, the foundations that have been built to create a society that keeps us disconnected from our light, that keeps us disconnected from the truth of who we are, from source energy, basically creates robots, sheep. So for me, waking up is becoming aware of that. And with this waking, this shifting of energy, and what I do know is that Earth, Mother Earth, has her own aura, her own energy field, and it's all interacting with all of us. And we help her grow, she helps us grow, all of that. And her energy field has been for years and years now shifting from the masculine into the feminine, shifting from the hard doing ways to being more receptive and more connected to with the truth of who we are. Hence this great awakening. The whole energy in this part of the universe is shifting big time, big time. And if you are connected and you are in tune, I'm sure you're feeling that as well. And so are our kids. But this means that the way that we are doing things in like every case, it's changing. I'm not just talking about parenting. I mean, look at things post-COVID. How many people are working from home now? How many people are getting more time into their day because they get to work from home? How many more people are actually getting more things done because they get to hang out a load of washing when they quickly step away from the computer for 5 minutes? How many more people are getting to spend more time with their children because they get to work from home? And it's shifting everything. It's shifting the way that we show up in our relationships. It's shifting our relationships in general. It's shifting business, the way that we do business, the way that business owners market. It's shifting the way that we work, as we saw, with the working from home thing with COVID. It's shifting the way that we take care of ourselves, stepping away from big pharma into more natural things. And I think COVID definitely has built momentum with that. Looking after ourselves, our vessel, shifting more into those natural foods and remedies. It's shifting schooling, as I mentioned, and parenting. It's shifting parenting. And why are all these changes happening? It's so that we can, without getting too deep and into the woo-woo or anything like that, but basically save humanity because we are going downhill big time. But it's, in order to do that, it's connecting lighting up our light, connecting with our light, our source energy, the truth of who we are, our higher selves, our inner being, whatever you want to call it, God, unity, consciousness, whatever it is that you would like to call it. We're all being called to connecting deeper with that and allow that energy, work with that energy, co-create with that energy to create this environment on Earth where we are in this receptive co-creation mode with the energy. The energy is flowing. We're all shining our light, and we're lighting the neighbors up, the people down the road, the person we meet here. It's sort of like that domino ripple effect. And you, as a conscious parent, you are being asked to lead the way, because we have the most important job of putting an end to those outdated martial law, harsh ways, hostile ways of parenting. And we are the leaders in creating this emotional well-being, this intuitive connection with our kids, these kids fostering an intuitive connection. And so this is what conscious parenting is. Conscious parenting is, in my opinion, and what I'm feeling into, it is allowing kids to grow into themselves, to learn who they are and feel safe being who they are, all of who they are, the perceived good and the perceived bad, allowing children to express themselves, all of themselves, and be met with love. So cultivating a safe environment for children to develop a very strong sense of self, so that they are sure of themselves. They know what they want. And they know what they want, and they're sure of themselves because they are connected. They're in alignment. They're connected to the truth of who they are, their inner being, because it hasn't been severed. So we allow them to make choices. We encourage self-directed learning. We encourage children to resolve problems on their own. We encourage input, critical thinking from a very young age. We allow our children to put in their boundaries to us. We allow our children to tell us how they're feeling when we are putting in a boundary. We allow the space, we provide the space for the child to express themselves and tell us how they're feeling. And we communicate with them. It's not shutting down of the person. So then when this person goes into school, if they go into school or high school or into adult life, into adulthood, they are more connected. They are more sure of what they want. They're still connected to their childhood dreams. They don't lose their childhood dreams because somebody told them they needed to go get good grades in maths when they didn't give two hoots about maths. They feel encouraged and supported to pursue whatever it is that interests them, no matter how silly or how successful seemingly successful. They're encouraged to follow their dreams, follow their passions, their interests. They go into adulthood with emotional resilience and feeling safe to express themselves, not allowing others to treat them like crap because they know their worth, because they've always been met with unconditional love. Knowing how to show up emotionally in relationships, knowing how to put boundaries in place to protect themselves and their energy. All of these wonderful things that many of us as adults are lacking. And we are needing to do deep, 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 deep healing to get that back. And we are not going, no matter how hard we try, we're not going to create a perfect world for our kids, by no means. But we are putting in the big shift, making the big changes, becoming the leaders, like completely spinning it, 180 in it. And we can't just, this way of parenting has got momentum, and we can't just put a block up and say, stop. It's going to take a lot to slow it down and turn it around. So that is why we are being called, you are being called to be the leaders of conscious parenting, to be the leaders of change, to be the leaders of breaking the generational cycles that have caused so much trauma in so many people, and become the change maker. So thank you so much for doing this vitally important work, not just for you, not just for your kids, not just for your family, but for the whole shifting of this energy of humanity, of the evolution of Earth, the evolution of our species. It is extremely important work, and possibly the most important that you will do to heal yourself so that you can shift out those programs, rid yourself of those programs so you are not passing them on to your children. And that's why what I do is I work with you. I don't work with you to change your kids. I work with you to change you so that you can be the leader, you can be the model for your children. That is where the true healing and the true work happens. So that is something, if you are ready for, if you are ready to say, I'm done with this reactive life. I'm done with living in fight or flight. I'm done with living in my trauma, allowing my subconscious mind to completely run the show, allowing my traumas to run the show. If you are done with it all and you are ready to become the cycle breaker and make change, then comment ready on this video, and I will reach out to you direct in your messages, in your DMs, and we can have a chat there. And if any of this is resonating or you would like me to elaborate more, if you have conflicting thoughts or ideas, I would absolutely love to hear them, and happy to dialogue in Messenger or in the comments section below in this video. So thank you very, very much for your time. And again, thank you for doing this really important work. I'm very grateful for you. I'm grateful for your energy, and I'm grateful for you showing up and being here. Thank you.